Hey, can we get another song, please, guys?
Sure thing. One momentito.
guys, I've got serious technical issues. I'm actually taking the battery out of my second system now. Can you guys cover for a little while, or maybe play another song?
Oz, have you got more songs?
Yeah, sure do. I'll play another one, and if Dumpster's still having problems, I'll read a few notables and something. You know, we'll figure it.
Hey, y'all!
Hey,
We got
hey,
Puppy in the house. How you doing, brother?
I'm okay. I'm taking it easy.
you sound much better, Frank.
Yeah, it's all right.
Hey,
I can read from
Sid
the
there.
I can
Yeah,
read from
Sid.
the a day at a time, a reflection for today.
Sure, we'll just say hi to everyone in chat. Hey, Deborah, Robert Shaw, good to see you too. Hey, Storm, Dana, Sid, awesome. Rochelle. Hi,
Hey,
everybody.
folks. I can't actually see you at the moment, but I will in just a moment. Good morning, everybody. Glad you could make it.
Okay, Puppy, why don't you go for it?
All right, guys. A day at a time. April 13th. Reflection for today. A number of compulsive gamblers, everyone who's addicted, are bedeviled by the conviction that if they ever go near to gamble to an anonymous program, whether by attending meetings or talking one-to-one with a member, they'll be pressured to conform to some particular brand of faith or religion. They don't realize that faith is never an imperative for membership in the program. That freedom from addiction can be achieved with an easily acceptable minimum of it, and that your concepts of a higher power and God, as we understand Him, afford everyone a nearly unlimited choice of spiritual belief and action. So today, I'm asking myself, am I receiving strength by sharing with newcomers? The prayer for today is, may I never frighten newcomers to keep away those who are considering coming to Anonymous by imposing on them my particular personal ideas about a higher power. May each discover his or her own spiritual identity. May all find within themselves a link with some great universal being or spirit whose power is greater than theirs individually. May I grow both in tolerance and in spirituality every day. So today I will remember, I will reach, not preach. Thank you.
That was excellent. Thank you, Puppy.
Yeah. Preach it.
Boom.
Okay, I think all things being equal, I've got my second system up and running. Just a moment while I bring up YouTube, please. Talk amongst yourselves
Guys,
for a moment, please, guys.
I want to warn everybody who has neural issues like I do. I had an infection in the brains, and it caused some neurological damage. And what I have right now, feeling bad and nauseous and dizzy and throwing up and headaches like I haven't had in a long time, was caused by listening to some music I received from a friend, 8D Music, apparently new technology, and I want to warn everyone. It was almost a week ago, and I'm still not over it. I was so sick for at least 4 days, and I want to warn everyone. When you want to listen to it, it's awesome. You have to listen to it with your headphones on. It's awesome to listen to it, but be careful. If you have any, especially when you have like epileptic seizures or anything like that, be careful. Be careful, because I don't want anyone having to go through this, through what I've been going through. It's not fun. It's not a picnic, not at all. So y'all be warned,
Well, I will definitely take that to heart.
Yeah, I told you that before. Yeah, you be careful for your heart and such.
You haven't talked to your socks anymore, have you?
Oh yeah, I need to tell the people that I was so out of it, and I was talking to my cat because she had been misbehaving, and I was talking to my cat, punishing her, only to realize it were my socks.
Wow, that's cabin fever.
Social distancing. Thank you, COVID-19.
Okay, I've finally got my second system up and running. Storm, Punky, and Rochelle, of course. Rochelle is always here, and Deborah. And we'll see who else we've got. We've got like 23 people watching us, which is a nice way to start the show. Good morning, everybody. Just a moment, people. Okay, the first slot this evening will, of course, be the devotional. Oh, hang on, before I do anything else. This is Dumpster Truffles broadcasting around the world and across the galaxy. It's the 13th of April, Easter Monday. And good morning, YouTube, and you guys in America, a big hello. Bounce out of bed and face your day with a spring in your step and a smile on your face. And I'll say hello to everyone after the devotional. I think now would be the ideal time to remind us the path that we walk. Carmen, are you ready to go?
Yes. This comes from Jeremiah chapter 29, verses 11 through 13. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. Then you will call on me and come and pray to me, and I will listen to you. You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart. We spend a lot of time making our own plans for our own futures. But have we brought them in line with God's plan for us? God cares about everything concerning us, right down to knowing exactly how many hairs are on our heads. His plans for us are perfect, but too often He can't fulfill those plans because of our neglect to seek His will in our lives. But He has promised if we call on Him, He will hear us. To find Him, we must search for Him with our whole heart, holding nothing back. Jesus said in Matthew chapter 7, verse 7, "Ask, and it shall be given you. Seek, and ye shall find. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you." We get things backwards many times. People want to make deals with God, telling him if he'll do something for us, then we'll do something for him. It doesn't work that way. He has provided everything we need. In order to receive, the first step is up to us, seeking for him. Father, thank you for your immeasurable love towards us. Help us to remember to seek your will in our lives in everything we do. Keep your hand on President Trump. Guide him and give him strength to do the job you've given him as the leader of our country. Bless everyone listening today and heal those who are sick. In the name of Jesus we pray. Amen.
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 That was actually practical advice. Thank you, Carmen.
Amen.
That was really
Well, don't
so
thank me.
Hang on, you brought the words to my attention, and now I'm thinking about it, and we have to be open, but we don't just have to be open to God. We have to make sure that we understand that God is open to us as well.
Yes, and we have to make the first step towards him.
Thank you very much. That was a beautiful way to start the show. Okie dokes, folks. Good morning, YouTube. How you doing, guys? We got CT Yankee, Dana, Posh Rain. I don't believe I've met you yet, Posh Rain. Welcome aboard. I think you're in the right place. And Jenna as well. How you doing? How you guys this morning? So good morning, YouTube. And for the Americans out there, a very big hello. Time to get out of bed, sleepyhead. It's 6 a.m. Face your day with a spring in your step and a smile on your dial. It's time to get vertical and caffeinated. And while you do this process of getting out of bed and getting coffee into yourself, so you can listen to us while you do so. So tonight or morning or afternoon, wherever you may be for that matter, we have a few bits and pieces lined up for you. So it should be a decent show. We've just had the devotional, and the lesson that I take away from the devotional is it was practical advice about your relationship with God. It's not enough to be open to God. We have to know that God is open to us. I just said that, so I'm repeating myself. But anyway, that's what I got out of the devotional this morning. And that was the devotional from Carmen, which was slot 1. For slot 2, Ozanon has got a smorgasbord lined up of information, all of it freshly harvested from the Chans. After that, after the third slot, we freestyle. And there's a rather interesting PDF that came across my desk this afternoon. And it came across my desk 3 times, in fact. The first time this PDF ended up in my computer, I ignored it. I thought this is too good to be true. Then the second time I read it all and I was gobsmacked. And then I went back to look at it again and found that it had been scrubbed. So when Q says archive everything, Q means archive everything. Anyway, so it got scrubbed and I got a 504 error. And that's when I took notice of the document. And I'm not 100% sure of the veracity of this document, but I do know 2 things. First, it's been in circulation for over a week. Bad information usually gets sifted out real quick. And the second reason is, why would they scrub a document like this? Why would they scrub a fake document? So I will address the document with those caveats. And of course, we'll have music. We will be playing a selection of music. So if we have it in our library, a favorite tune of yours, feel free to request it. And if you know a great song that is free use, that is non-copyright. If you just point the title and the artist at a mod or myself, and we will endeavour to play it for you. And I've also got to say that this platform that we're on at the moment has a feedback loop between us in Discord and you guys in YouTube. And I think also there are people broadcasting on Twitter and Facebook as well, but I'm not sure of that. I don't touch either of those platforms. Anyway, like I was saying, there's a feedback loop between us. This is an artificial division, and it's one necessitated by technology only. We should be looking at ourselves as all one team. So the upshot of all that is, don't be afraid to offer questions, analysis, corrections, suggestions, and or commentary to any of our wonderful moderators. Okay, so don't be afraid to offer up a question. There are no stupid questions, although I can provide you with stupid answers to good questions, I guess. If you've got a little bit of analysis that you want to throw in there, corrections, suggestions, or commentary to any of our material, grab the attention of a mod, and we'll see if we can include all of you guys in the show, because I really would like to include all of you guys. Let's make the most out of the software. Anyway, so after a song, we'll crunch some information. And may we have a song, please? There we go. Excellent. Now let's jump into some information freshly harvested from the chans, dug up by Ozanon and orated by Dumpster Truffles. And, oh, hang on, we've got Scope in the room as well. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, guys. Driving, so I'm going to be listening for just a little bit.
Cheers, mate. I'll see you in a few then.
Good morning, Scope.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning.
Hey, Scope.
Hey, guys. Sorry I missed you for a little while, but glad to be back today.
We've missed you, Scope.
Oh, terribly so.
Well, falling back into my routine just a little bit for a few days. Looks like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm going to be working at the office, and Tuesday, Thursday, I'll be working from home. So my schedule just so happened to line up with the programming that we have going on here. So hopefully I'll be on here each morning now at around this time.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. That's good news.
And that didn't happen by accident.
I guess Q tells us there's no coincidences.
Okie dokes. You want to hear some news from the Chans, guys?
Love to.
Okay, this is the notables. This is notables from Ozanon. 1. Parents of vulnerable and sick children are furious after being asked by GPs to sign do not resuscitate orders if their loved ones catch COVID-19. I'll read that again. Parents of vulnerable and sick children are being asked by GPs to sign do not resuscitate orders if their loved ones catch COVID-19. The order instructs medics not to perform CPR if a patient stops breathing or their heart stops. The National Institute for Health and Care Excellence had told doctors to assess people with learning disabilities, autism, or cerebral palsy on a clinical frailty scale, meaning some would be denied hospital treatment. Days later, NICE did a U-turn. That's the National Institute for Health and Care Excellence. Days later, NICE did a U-turn after being challenged by disabled charities, but there are concerns about how the guidance is being interpreted by GPs. Mum Margaret, 32, says the shock call from her GP surgery came totally out of the blue. She said they asked if we wanted a DNR if my son had to be taken to hospital with coronavirus. When I complained, one GP told me there had been a mistake, but how on earth can someone see an 11-year-old boy's age on a computer and think that it is responsible behaviour? Ilhan is an oncology patient. I'm assuming that's the 11-year-old boy. And this is something we would decide with his consultant at Leeds General Infirmary, where the treatment has been amazing. A 16-year-old lad from Colchester, Essex, also received a call from his surgery asking if he would agree to the DNA order. The boy, who has asthma and the corrective tissue disorder, Ehlers-Danlos, has a say in his own care plan. His mum said the surgery called to ask if he had enough asthma packs, then asked if he would agree to a DNR, that would be a do not resuscitate, on his notes. He asked them what it meant, and when they told him, he said, hell no, I'm only 16. A spokesman for NHS England would not comment on individual cases, but said, the key principle is that each person is an individual whose needs and preferences must be taken account of individually. Blanket policies are inappropriate, whether due to medical condition, disability, or age. And that's the end of that one. And that came from the ukmirror.com. And we've actually got a picture of what looks like my guess would be Ilhan mentioned in the article. I'll just move on to the second article, guys. Okay, this one is about G20 nations. And this one looks like the beginning of extremely good news. The G20 nations close in on debt deal for poor countries. A proposed 6-month freeze on payments aims to avoid emerging market health crisis. The G20 group is planning to offer lower-income countries a moratorium on bilateral government loan repayments as part of an action plan to tackle the coronavirus pandemic and stave off an emerging markets debt crisis, a senior G20 official said. The initiative, due to be finalised at a finance ministers' meeting this week, would see a freeze on sovereign debt repayments for 6 or 9 months, or possibly through to 2021, in line with an appeal last month from the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank. And wealthy nations and multilateral institutions would use the period of the moratorium to draw up a very clear criteria, country by country, of what exactly is going to happen. It would take time for them to be coordinated, said the official, who did not want to be named because of the sensitivity of the discussions. But what is immediately needed is to give these people space so they don't need to worry about the cash flow and debt servicing going to other countries, and they can use that money for their immediate needs. Concerns have been mounting about the debt sustainability of many lower income countries that borrowed heavily in the years after the 2008 global financial crisis and now lack the resources to deal with the economic problems caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, as they grapple with high debt, fiscal deficits, plummeting revenues, and weakening currencies, as well as the health crisis itself. Okay, and the third and final for this slot, we'll get to more of Oz's stuff at the other end of the show, but I need to pop this one open, it looks like. This is Taiwan warned the World Health Organization regarding corona outbreak back on December 31st. Checkmate, World Health Organization, your ass is coroned. I'm not sure if that joke was from Oz or whether it's part of the document. Let's find out.
Oh, it's me, sorry.
Got their ass coroned. Just a minute while I get a handle on the document, please. Okay, it's a quickie. This comes out of www.cdc.gov.taiwan, that would be. And I'm looking at a whole bunch of stuff in Mandarin or Cantonese that I can't read, but the actual document itself is in English. And it reads, the facts regarding Taiwan's email to alert the World Health Organization to the possible danger of COVID-19. In response to WHO's denial that Taiwan ever alerted it to the possibility of human-to-human transmission of COVID-19, the Central Epidemic Command Center makes the following statement today, April 11. 1. The Taiwan Center for Disease Control, the Taiwan CDC, which produced this document, to be clear. So the Taiwan CDC learned from online sources that there had been at least 7 cases of atypical pneumonia in Wuhan, China. In China, the term atypical pneumonia is commonly used to refer to SARS, a disease transmitted between humans caused by coronavirus. Owing to its experience with the SARS epidemic in 2003, Taiwan vigilantly kept track of information about the new outbreak. On December 31st, 2019, Taiwan sent an email to the International Health Regulations focal point under the World Health Organization, informing the WHO of its understanding of the disease and also requesting further information from the World Health Organization. Given the lack of clarity at the time, as well as the many rumors that were circulating, Taiwan's aim was to ensure that all relevant parties remained alert, especially since the outbreak occurred just before the Lunar New Year holiday, which typically sees tremendous amounts of travel. To be prudent, in the email, we took pains to refer to atypical pneumonia and specifically noted that patients had been isolated for treatment. Public health professionals could discern from this wording that there was a real possibility of human-to-human transmission of the disease. However, because at the time there were as yet no cases of the disease in Taiwan, we could not state directly and conclusively that there had been human-to-human transmission. Point 3. The Taiwan CDC also contacted the Chinese Center for Disease Control and Prevention in a bid to obtain more information. However, in response to our inquiries, the World Health Organization, IHR, Focal Point only responded with a short message stating that Taiwan's information had been forwarded to expert colleagues. China provided only a press release. My own comment here is the World Health Organization just got caught with its pants down by the Taiwanese. I'm looking at some sort of agenda being rolled out by the World Health Organization, but we can discuss that later. Point 4. Even though Taiwan strongly suspected that human-to-human transmission of the disease was already occurring at the time, we were unable to gain confirmation through existing channels. Therefore, on the day the aforementioned email was sent to the World Health Organization, the Taiwanese government activated enhanced border control and quarantine measures based on the assumption that human-to-human transmission was in fact occurring. These measures included screening passengers on flights from Wuhan prior to disembarkation. Point 5, and this is the final point of the document. In mid-January, the Taiwanese CDC dispatched experts to Wuhan to gain a better understanding of the epidemic, the control measures taken there, and patients' exposure history. Based on preliminary research, Taiwan determined that this form of pneumonia could indeed spread via human-to-human transmission. So by the end of December of 2019, the Taiwanese already knew they had a monster on their hands. And the World Health Organization just got caught with their pants down, as this document shows. Very nice finds, Oz. Very nice indeed. And we'll pick up Oz and On's siftings later on in the show. Do you reckon we could have a bit of music, please, Carmen? Or Oz, either of you guys? Let's see if we can put Elvis to work.
My name is Too Sweet, and it's the story of the never-ending struggle between sovereignty, liberty, and individual freedom versus the oppressive tyranny of globalism and big government control. It goes something like this. QAnon, just remember you're not alone. QAnon, where we go one, we go all. QAnon, together we'll right the wrong. QAnon, get back the power for the people where it belongs. Nothing makes sense, they're trying to weaken your confidence. The deep state's inching closer to achieving global governance. So by design, to control your mind, keep you believing in the American dream and its wide picket fence. It's just a clenched fist, violence and intolerance that they use to resist any signs of common sense. They're obsessed like a monkey playing with a wrench and making a mess of the American dream till it no longer exists. It's a progressive plague dug up from European graves, using identity politics to divide and enslave. It's good versus evil, honesty versus deceitful. It's an uprising by the people, globalism betrayed. It was a cold November morn, it was the calm before the storm. You gotta trust the plan, it's an awakening to get back the power to the people where it belongs. Just remember you're not alone. Where we go one, we go all. Together we'll right the wrong. Get back the power to the people where it belongs. It's like a fungus, playing a prone society's dumbest. Those easily manipulated morons among us, psychologically unhinged. Their thoughts make you cringe as they confuse my rule with the principles of equal justice. Emotionally unstable, intellectually incapable, conversation outside a safe space without being confrontational. So much hate in their hearts, it's reprehensible. Like a pedophile on trial, trying to defend me indefensible. Sovereignty in American exceptionalism versus open borders, new world orders, and a taste of police state fascism. Due process under the law, equal justice for all. For socialism, algorithms, and big government control. It was a cold November morn. It was the calm before the storm. You gotta trust the planets and awaken man to get back to power for the people where it belongs. Just remember you're not alone. Where we go one, we go all. Together we'll right the road. Get back to power for the people where it belongs. And communism's a cotton candy fairy tale. Globalism is a worldwide epic fail. Socialism is an academic unholy grail on which make up liberalism, the world's greatest betrayal. Political correctness is fascism with a pretty face. Social justice is the guilt for the sins of others, liberals and race. They call you racist when they wanna shut down debate, and they call it hate speech when they wanna control what you say. Control what you say. Control what you say. Control what you say. They wanna control what you say. Just remember you're not alone. Where we go one, we go home. Together we'll right the road. Give back the power to the people where it belongs. It's a celebration, jubilation. It's an awakening, so breathtaking, it's sweeping the nation. Dawn to light, fighting the good fight. Knowledge is more powerful than dynamite. Kick your bad habit, take a bad tablet. Trust the plan, follow the white ladder. Winning from the beginning. There's no mistaking this new awakening is making America great again.
Awesome. Thank you. Who chose that one?
The higher power.
What did you have to say, Carmen?
I said Oz did.
Beautiful. Thank you. We'll roll with third slot now. And at the moment, it's time to think about the future. So, with all that's going on in the world, let's take a moment to just step back and dream a little bit. Dreaming is a way of visualizing, and you don't achieve anything without visualization. You visualize the success, you visualize the steps you need to take to get there. And that's how you enact your will upon the world. So dreaming is useful, dreaming is powerful. And so that's all I need to say before I get into the article. But Q's timing is impeccable. Q revolution popped up at exactly the point in the history of the human race when we needed it most. I'll say that again. Q's timing is impeccable. So the Q revolution, it emerged in our civilization exactly at the right point where it was needed. Not too early, not too late, just right. So timing is everything. And Q team have given us all an opportunity to take control of our destiny as humans. And it's also important to note that we get one opportunity at this. Okay? This is not a dress rehearsal. This is the real thing. And if we screw this up now, we screw it up forever. So we only get one opportunity. And without putting too fine a point on it, space is the prize of this battle. Let me put it this way. Do we go forward as a strong and spiritually connected species, or is the future of space a Kabbalist nightmare? Think about what would You think about what the future would be in space if the Cabal was allowed to take humanity into the stars. So who controls the future? And the future is space. Our first steps into space will be made by free men and women. That much is sure. I don't know how human civilization will look on Mars, but I can assure you that this civilization will be constructed by people who love and trust one another, not a future power built on power structures that foster fear and hatred. So our first steps into the cosmic ocean will be made by people who are the product of this great awakening. Remember that, we're producing people. Maximizing our potential as a civilization is essentially the goal of Q. That's basically what Q is doing here. Pushing the realms of human civilization from what they are to what they could be. I'll make a comment now about the Cabal, and the Cabal acts as a retardant on virtually every aspect of humanity, and except for the negative drives of the human psyche, of course. But every aspect of humanity is controlled by the Cabal. So people talk about ascension, but it's not so much of ascending to another plane. It's not ascension per se. It's about unyoking an incredible drive within all of us. Human beings in their natural state are superorganisms. All we have to do is remove the oppressive forces that hold us back, and this will lead us to a civilization we can't imagine. I don't know what the future is going to be like, but I can prepare for it anyway, and I can prepare for it by preparing people. And so the final note before I begin the articles is space is the prize. Let me get to my first article, please. Can I just get a 5x5 on the mic?
Five by five.
Thank you, Mr. Puppy.
Yeah, I hear you, but what about chat?
Okay, I'll take that as a good. Should I wait a little while longer and get a verification from YouTube?
Yeah, but we have
Beautiful.
5x5s, Dana and Rochelle. Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Dana. Thank you, Rochelle. Okay, this one comes out of futurism.com. And the headline is A Timeline for Humanity's Colonization of Space. And the byline is Victor Tangerman. And this comes from October of 2017. Humans have long desired to explore the vast realms of space. Today we are finally poised to send people out into the cosmos. Indeed, a number of private and public space companies are gearing up for Space Race 2.0, a very expensive competition that inches us closer to uncovering answers about our universe and exploring new realms of our own humanity. And that thought is where I will pick up. I will pick that thought up again at the other end of this set of articles, exploring the realms of our own humanity. Anyway, I will continue. Though they're still in the race, shifting priorities and limited budgets have undermined NASA's lead in exploring the solar system and beyond. In the meantime, private entities like SpaceX and Virgin Galactic are flush with cash, and they are stepping up to try and engineer better, bigger and faster rockets. And this is a good thing, because if humans are to find life on another planet, or perhaps a new planet for ourselves, more work needs to be done. Engineers and scientists need to develop life support systems, find reliable sources of water and fuel, and overcome the negative effects space has on the body, and find a faster way to travel. There is still much to be done, but sending the average person to the moon and beyond no longer seems so far out of reach. Yet, when will it finally happen? When will humans finally roam across an alien world? Here's a comprehensive timeline of our future beyond Earth. Okay, this begins in late 2017. SpaceX plans to launch the Falcon Heavy, that should be Falcon Heavy rocket, for the first time before the end of 2017. Because the rocket can be reused, the Falcon rocket can deliver its payload into space at only a third of the cost of the next closest operational vehicle. Then it's got a bunch of technical stuff. Anyway, the vital statistics of SpaceX's Falcon Heavy rocket is that it can launch a payload of 63,800 kilograms. That's 63.8 tons of equipment, cargo, and passengers into orbit around Earth. That's more than double the weight that the space shuttle can haul to the same altitude. Next, we have another player called Virgin Galactic. Virgin Galactic is gearing up to launch its astronauts into space before the end of February 2018. Before it launches with passengers on board, though the spacecraft will have to undergo a series of test flights. To the best of my knowledge, I don't think Virgin ever actually got off the ground, but I'm not 100% sure on that. And I'm jumping ahead here slightly to another company called Blue Origin. The space flight services company started by Amazon founder Jeff Bezos recently announced that it intends to take tourists to space before April of 2019 in groups of 6. This will cost a ticket to board the New Glenn to reach Earth orbit is rumored to cost anywhere between $150,000 and $250,000, and yet there's little question that people will want to sign up. Virgin Galactic, a competing space tourism project, reportedly already has 700 people signed up. So this is the beginnings of space travel, guys. Just a moment while I scroll down, please. Jumping ahead now to the 2020 to 2025 Earth Reliant. So, from finding evidence of liquid water to detecting organic matter in the soil of the red planet's surface, that is Mars, the Curiosity rover has answered some fundamental questions about what it's like on Mars. However, that information has also sparked more questions about what other elements may be present. To this end, in an effort to establish whether oxygen is present in the Martian atmosphere and at what concentration, Curiosity's successor, the Mars 2020 rover, will be saddled with a host of sensors and instruments that will allow it to answer this question. Information about oxygen concentration will be important if humans are ever able to visit the red planet themselves, which could be possible as early as 2030. Then it talks about prerequisites for space colonization. I'm just going to scroll through that. I actually discussed that in another document that I have lined up. Okay, jumping ahead slightly. 2 years after cargo ships establish an infrastructure, SpaceX plans to send humans to inhabit a colony on Mars. They already have these plans laid out. And this is SpaceX's version. The passengers aboard the BFR's 40-cabin Mars Transit module will be the first to make the unprecedented trip. This is Musk, that is Elon Musk, would probably admit an aggressive timeline, and it may not work in SpaceX's favor due to planetary alignments and other factors such as solar power requirements and fuel limitations. When it talks about planetary alignments, remember that the planets orbit the sun, and at various times during their orbit they are closer and further away from each other. So by calculating when Earth is closest to Mars, you can get the most efficient space transport. Anyway, so due to planetary alignment and other factors such as solar power requirements and fuel limitations, the launch window of Earth-Mars travel is only a few weeks, and that's assuming that all the other pieces fall perfectly into place. And neither the BFR nor its predecessor, the Falcon Heavy rocket, has yet had a successful launch. Should the BFR mission make it to Mars, it will contain the materials to construct a propellant production plant as part of its Martian colony. The plan would suck carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and turn it into deep cryo CO4 fuel using solar power. And SpaceX might be ready to send humans to live in space by the early 2020s, but NASA is a little more cautious. The government space agency is planning to put astronauts into orbit for a year to find out if humans are indeed ready to live on a different planet. In March 2016, NASA astronaut Scott Kelly completed a similar year-long mission aboard the ISS, that's the International Space Station, to test the effect of zero gravity on the human body and what that will mean for future space travel to Mars. However, NASA's 2021 mission will put deep space missions, including later missions to Mars. It will be built over 5 earlier missions, 4 of them with humans aboard. The effects of spending a year in lunar orbit on the human body, caused by factors such as different day-night cycles and solar radiation, are still unknown. And this is the tail end to this document. 5 years after SpaceX's manned mission to Mars, NASA plans to spend its own spacecraft to the Red Planet, using data and samples from the Curiosities and Mars 2020 rovers. NASA will first establish how humans could sustain themselves on the Martian surface before sending manned spacecraft from its deep space gateway to do so. So this is the staging ground, Earth as a staging ground, using the moon as an interplanetary gateway and so forth. This is a rather ambitious timeline to have manned missions to Mars by 2030. But I'm certainly sure that Trump with his Space Force can get this ball rolling. Absolutely.
I would not be at all surprised, Dumpster, that already has happened. According to some, humans have been colonizing Mars and planets at least 5 decades. And the technology is there. They already have it. They, as in the deep state. And once they are gone, everything will come out. And some say that mankind has already been to other galaxies and solar systems. So I would not be at all surprised. 50 years or 75 years since, what was it? When that spaceship, what's that place called in the United States where the spaceship crashed? Yeah.
Roswell.
Yeah, Roswell, couldn't get on the name. And I wouldn't be surprised if they had managed do reverse engineering on that, because they had all the scientists from Project Paperclip, the best scientists from Germany.
Yes, this was just an introductory article so that everyone is up to speed for the more complicated articles to come. You're exactly right, and I think I addressed most of the issues that you just raised.
All right. I'm looking forward to the future.
Me too. It's going to be fantastic, isn't it?
It's going to be biblical.
Biblical indeed. I can imagine myself taking a pleasure cruise to Mars in a I don't know, 30, 40 years' time maybe. That'd be pretty cool, I think.
I'll be 103 then.
Pleasure cruise.
Oh well, I'm sure that when everything comes out, there will be no more disease. People will get over there like 150 or maybe even 200 years old. I'm not at all surprised if that science is already available.
Yeah, I get to the juicy stuff in a couple of articles' time. But remember, I've got an audience, some of whom are going to be cold starts on this. So it's good to address the ideas behind space travel and then ease them into the idea that we're going to build cities on Mars using nuclear weapons. Things like that, terraforming and so forth.
Well, maybe one of the articles that they may be able to sink their teeth into is they can look up the term space warden.
Please repeat, Scope.
It's a space warden, like the warden of a jail or a prison. They can call it space. They called it Operation Space Warden shortly after the wars were done, and the first secret space program that was put together was noted as Space Warden.
Hang on. Would that be Solar Warden, Project Solar Warden?
They tried to disguise it several different ways to confuse people, but Solar Warden may be someone else's name for it, but I believe that the proper name would be Space Warden.
Just drop the link for you, Dumpster.
Okay, I'll get to that before I go to bed tonight, but I've got like 150 people waiting on hearing the rest of these articles, guys.
Go ahead. I'm not supposed to be here.
No, beautiful. Great to have you with us. Okay, this comes out of space.com, and this is an old one. This is from 2005, but it talks about the kind of ideas that I've set up in the first article. And this is called Space Colonization, the Quiet Revolution. And it's from Leonard David. And as I said, that comes out of space.com. So, coming out of Albuquerque, New Mexico, an initial step towards the creation of mass transit beyond our planet is the emerging public space travel market. At present, a number of technologies are being developed for other applications by non-aerospace industries deemed useful in fostering space colonization. These technologies will automate many aspects of large-scale space system development, as well as drive down costs, thereby advancing the onset of colonization. That's the view among a group of visionary practitioners of the future taking part in the Space Technology and Applications International Forum held here. Okay, where are we? Jumping a section and jumping the next section, and there we go. There are many things underway now that relate to space colonization. The International Space Station is a part of this too, as well as the long-term potential for terraforming Mars into another planet for humans to live on, Rice told Space.com. Rice said the growing business of public space tourism is really the spirit of colonization, and the giggle factor of citizen space travels is totally gone, he said. Part of that de-giggling, Rice said, stems from last year's set of flights by Spaceship One. Then there's the work of Las Vegas, Nevada entrepreneur Robert Bigelow in fabricating inflatable space modules to be implanted in Earth orbit. Also, the pay-for-a-seat travels to the space station of Dennis Tito and Mark Shuttleworth. Anyway, just a moment. And I will pick the article up here. The prognosis for space colonization is good, said Edward McCullough, principal scientist for the Boeing company in Huntington Beach, California. He pointed to numbers of technologies that are on exponential growth curves. That is, they show signs of increasing rapid growth. And I will point out here that there was only 50 or 60 years between the Wright brothers and walking on the moon. So what's 50 or 60 years of our lifetime going to see in terms of advancement? That's a very good question. So McCullough pointed to photography, chemistry, and quantum mechanics that have combined to produce a new industrial revolution. Electrical and mechanical engineering are on courses that appear to indicate unbounded exponential improvement. Delving into the structure of DNA has spurred a better understanding of the cellular processes. The human genome has been sequenced, and microbiomechanics has taken off. So why hasn't this happened for space travel, is my question. Anyway, McCullough continues with, furthermore, the centuries-old technology of printing has been extended to 3 dimensions with inks and polymers, ceramics, wood, and metal. Then it goes on to talk about these technologies breed other technologies. Okay, jumping ahead slightly, there are many more advancements that are already in the pipeline, McCullough said. A few favourites on the Boeing scientists list are large-scale, micro-scale, and high-speed fabrication with metal, ceramics, plastics, and electroactive polymers. Smart materials created using a 3D printer is my comment. The second thing that McCullough talks about is the autonomous robots capable of interacting with complex objects and capable of piecing together modules and performing complicated repair duties unattended. Third point, smart programmable shape materials and intelligent materials along with microscopic fluidic computers. So we're talking about next-gen technologies here. And then we have spacesuits, which are amplified with artificial muscles and polymer electronics. This is basically a power amplified body armor that will increase your strength as a human being. Also, there will be artificial organs for life support, chemical processing, and water treatment. We might be looking at cyborg organisms that have synthetic organs implanted into them so that they can deal with space, is my comment. And finally, genetic engineering of Martian-adapted plants and intelligence-boosted domestic animals, including E. coli bacteria, delivered pharmaceuticals, and other very advanced healthcare remedies. So the genetic engineering of Mars-adapted plants and intelligence-boosted domestic animals, it sounds like a horror movie come to life. But genetically engineering organisms to terraform Mars will be a mainstay of the terraforming procedure of creating a habitable Mars. Anyway, so McCullough estimates that a nominal size of a settlement on Mars would support 1,000 people, with a larger colony housing 10,000. Just a moment while I scroll down, please. Large-scale colonies will require large-scale equipment. Technologies are needed to assemble these types of vehicles with little or no touch labour at all, McCullough said. He also says that Mars is a user-friendly world. Why put Mars in the colonization crosshairs? And this is really important. Mars is a planet that has many unusual and spectacular features that will draw people to it, McCullough told the STAIF gathering. Being a planet rather than a moon, it has undergone many of the geological processes which have caused the formation of minerals on Earth, he said. That being the case, Mars is a user-friendly world, rife with many industrially industrially useful minerals for construction and manufacturing purposes. It has a suite of ites and ides of common metals with common non-metals. So it has all sorts of goodies to mine in the Martian soil, is the upshot of that. The red planet is also wrapped in abundant carbon dioxide, which will be fairly easy to condense, he said. And water availability on Mars is a huge plus. There is water on Mars, guys. There is abundant evidence of past water activity on Mars. It should be present in permafrost at higher latitudes of the planet, and it may also be present in hydrated minerals. The availability of water on Mars in significant quantities would once again simplify our projected industrial activities. This makes extensive bases leading to colonies more likely, McCullough concluded. And that's all I'm going to pull out of that one. So I'll move on to the third article. Okay, the third article is terraforming Mars. And, okay, the word, hang on, this comes from Terraforming Mars. I think it's a standalone website document, but I'm not 100% sure. If you're interested in this topic, I definitely recommend you check this one out. This one was interesting. So, terraforming. The term terraforming was originally coined by author Jack Williamson in the early 1940s. Literally, the term means earth forming or earth shaping. Terraforming refers to engineering any celestial body, planet, moon, asteroid, etc., to resemble Earth, generally through the manipulation of temperature, atmosphere, topography, and ecology. Planetary engineering is another term that is frequently associated with and substituted for terraforming. For the purposes of our discussion this evening, the two are used interchangeably. Planetary engineering and terraforming. And Puppy's got a great comment. Absolutely. Trapped in frozen methane, there would be water, and there's probably also a permafrost layer just below the surface. And large liquid seas, lakes, or oceans of water could exist underground on Mars. That's a very good point. Thank you, Puppy. Okay, now how is it done? With current technology and future technological promise, altering a small portion of a planet's environment and sustaining them in a desired condition is plausible through the implementation of machinery, technology, and other commodities supplied from Earth. However, the ideal goal of terraforming would be to create an aerobic, that means an atmosphere with oxygen, an environment with oxygen, an aerobic environment that is capable of sustaining plant and animal life naturally, removing or at least diminishing the need for the input of earthly materials and constant monitoring. The first step to attain this end product involves the development of a stable, enduring ecosystem. This is a process known as ecopoiesis. Robert Hayes, who coined the term, states, ecopoiesis is now used in literature to describe the implementation of a pioneering and hence microbial, that is, living at a microscopic level, a microbial ecosystem on a planet, either as an end in itself or as an initial stage to a more lengthy process of terraforming. Basically, you start with the smaller scale, algae and bacteria, and you move up from there. Ecopoiesis is a more modest aim, with less of the speculative extravagance associated with terraforming. Ecopoiesis alone would not be sufficient in creating an environment in which humans or animals could survive outdoors. However, which is why terraforming must be used in conjunction with the process of ecopiesis in order to create a sustainable Earth-like environment. In respect to the planet Mars, which is the focus of this website, there are 5 explicit steps that must be carried out before the processes of ecopiesis and consequently terraforming can be attempted or completed. The steps are as follow. 1. A surface temperature increase of about 60 degrees. I think they're talking in Fahrenheit here, but I'm not sure. Anyway. 2. An increase in atmospheric mass. Number 2 is important because Mars has a very thin atmosphere, very thin and small atmosphere. The third prerequisite is a supply of liquid water. And Mars's northern pole is absolutely packed with iced water. Then we need to reduce the amount of ultraviolet and cosmic radiation. And we need to alter the atmosphere to increase oxygen and nitrogen with the end goal of having an atmosphere that can be breathed by humans. Anyway, just a moment, please. I need to jump to the next section. Okay, this section is called the debate on terraforming. The process of terraforming is highly controversial and entails a vast number of political and ethical questions. Ethically, the question of if we even have the right to impose our will on another planet is central when thinking about terraforming. I think we are well within our rights as a human species to colonize other planets, but that's my own personal opinion. Furthermore, are we justified in attempting to make another planet more like our own, or should we instead take an approach that embraces the planet's own ecology and natural environment? And if we plan on using terraforming to sustain human life on Mars, can we free ourselves from the harmful tendencies toward ecological destruction we have imposed on our own planet? Or will the terraforming of Mars ultimately lead to its degradation through human destruction as well? Politically, if terraforming leads to a planetary colonization on Mars, what form of government should exist? Who has the right to live on the planet? Should it eventually become independent of Earth? Furthermore, the cost of terraforming would be immense, and the payoff, if any at all, could take hundreds or thousands of years. Who would fund the daring process? And is it worth the economic strain if there will be no short-term payoff within our lifetime? Then, this is critical, this section of the document is really important. There is also the debate on resources and technology. While we currently don't have the advanced technologies imagined by some scientists for the completion of terraforming a planet, some believe we should begin the project now and trust that these technologies will emerge with time. My own personal point is that is exactly how it will unroll. We'll get to Mars using technology that doesn't exist yet. Well, officially doesn't exist yet. I get to that in a little bit. There are others, however, who believe we should wait until we definitely have the necessary technologies before embarking on this gargantuan undertaking. And then there's a plug for a book that you can read if you're really, really interested. But that's the end of the third article, guys.
So, did you want some music? Is that what you're saying?
No. I'm actually ready to rock and roll with my next article. Just waiting for the computer to say thank you.
Okay, no worries. It just went quiet. I wondered what.
Yeah, fiddling around with computers. Okay, this one comes out of Stillness in the Storm, and it's about the United States Space Force. We're going to have Space Marines for real. If you don't know what a Space Marine is, jump on YouTube and check it out. As I said, this comes from Stillness in the Storm. Let me just find a byline and a date for you. Okay, it's from mid-2019, And there is no byline. Hang on, yes there is. Shoshi Hersku is the byline. This is a plan to create a new space force within the Air Force, which would be the sixth branch of the US military by 2020. This space force is not supposed to fight extraterrestrials or aliens, but those who are competing with the US, such as Russia, China. The renowned author Dr. Michael Salla, who promotes theories about the United States secret space program and long-time extraterrestrial presence on Earth, says that the goal of Dr. Michael Salla, who promotes theories about US SSPs and long-time extraterrestrial presence on Earth, says that the goal of creating this force is to patrol the atmosphere and prevent thwarts to US satellites, according to The Guardian. And then it's got a link there to the Roswell crash, as you mentioned earlier, Puppy. Excuse me while I take a sip of water. Okay, so the creation of the Space Force, this will accelerate the government's full disclosure of secret space programs and black budget projects as a result. Disclosure is all about the people in power telling us the truth about our contact with alien beings, for those of you who don't know. The connections of government with extraterrestrials for decades and advanced technology discovered on crashed alien spacecraft. This may provide a release of advanced technologies used in the SSP, such as real free energy, not the use of solar, wind, or other such resources that some erroneously call them, free energy and anti-gravity. However, this plan also positions Trump against his bitter adversary, which is the deep state operatives within the government which keep these secrets and oppose the establishment of such a force. The SSP is directly challenged by Trump's United States Space Force. The two can't exist together. One must become the other at some point. And I'm hoping that the black budget program becomes United States Space Force and not the other way around. And an additional comment is, it looks like Trump's getting ready to full disclosure. Tell us all about him. Anyway, let me scroll through this article, please. So, according to Exo News, Jordan Sather, I don't have a good opinion of him, but whatever you think of him, that's fine. Jordan Sather, disclosure filmmaker and commentator, the Pentagon land deep state operatives within would oppose a separate space force, as it would provide an avenue for the public release of advanced technologies such as free energy and anti-gravity, or magnetogravitroelectrics. It appears that one side, President Donald Trump, pushes towards disclosure of these secrets, while the other side wants to continue business as usual and keep these secrets sealed from the public. The separate space force will facilitate the disclosure of the secret space force. So that's the United States Space Force will facilitate the disclosure of the secret space force on Mars, the Moon, and perhaps other planets, which will lead to the release of super advanced technologies used in these programs and could free humanity. Excuse me while I sift through the document, please. Right, that's the section I was looking for. The advanced ET technologies hidden from us include zero-gravity spacecraft. Sorry, I just took a sip of water. Zero-gravity, Advanced ET technologies hidden from us include zero-gravity into a Star Trek society. I disagree with that, but I'm willing to entertain these ideas. So Star Trek Society would have teleportation, food, materializers, free energy, and super advanced healing technologies. As you may already know, both the Cabal and the Alliance exposed these technologies in movies, on TV, and other MSM outlets. My own comment here is that's part of the drip feeding of full disclosure. These technologies have been hidden from us to prevent us from an age of peace and prosperity, according to Corey Good. But if you think that it's only we, the people, all over the world who are being kept in the dark, you're wrong. According to the Black Diamond Social Club, I don't actually know what that is. I should have done my homework. The president of the US is at 17 security clearance, and there are 21 security clearance levels above the president of the United States. So the United States president isn't the boss, but Trump is taking back boss status, if you will. Cosmic clearance level. At 36 clearance levels, supposedly one gains access to information about UFOs. And I'm jumping ahead significantly here. If this piques your interest, grab the link and check it out later. For those who are new to this information and are not aware that these super advanced, unintrusive healing technologies exist and in use, they are called medbeds or holographic medical pods. You can read more about these technologies on blissfulvisions.com. Can you imagine a world where all illnesses could be eradicated by using painless healing procedures? So much suffering would be eliminated and prevented from so many people. No more intrusive, harming, and useless procedures that cause so much suffering worldwide. Why would the Cabal allow and even authorize these leaks? Now, according to newsinsideout.com, Kramer, a guy called Kramer, and Kramer says, under authorization from the U.S. Marine Corps Chain of Command, Captain Kramer is speaking out against U.S. government policies, a secret gene pool colony on Mars, the depopulation plans of what he calls the breakaway civilization of the military-industrial complex. He stated that he was authorized to reveal his experiences on Mars and other suppressed information, as it was part of a secret mechanism established by U.S. President Dwight Eisenhower to warn American citizens in the event their government was compromised and in danger of failing them or being overtaken. Does that sound familiar to anyone? Okay, why are these
Yes.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Dumpster, but yes, I've heard of this gentleman before and have sat in on a seminar of his or two where he talks about the holographic capabilities and what they're doing. If you could imagine, say, losing a digit, say a finger, and the cells at the end of the finger want to heal over. But if you were able to use holographic technology for the cells to be able to follow, say, a map, invisible map, they would actually start producing cells to replace the digit as they grew. And this is done in a more sped up type of a way that he discussed, people losing limbs and being able to participate in these healing technologies in these beds where they used holographic technology to guide the cells in growing and moving forward to produce capillaries, blood vessels, muscle, tissue, bone. All sequences are there within the DNA. They use it with holographic technology to steer it and produce the actual material from your own body. It was quite amazing to hear them explain it.
That's amazing. So you're talking like a biological 3D printer or bioprinter where you could print yourself out a new thumb and have it attached? And
Absolutely.
that's amazing. Okay, what could this do anything for old age? I mean, if you can restore a thumb, you can restore every part of a person's body except for their brain. I could be 18
Well,
again.
yes, what you do is, because we age and because we have atrophy, that is when the DNA stops producing, stops replicating itself. That's one of the reasons why we age. It's a slow process as we move forward in life, but it has been manipulated by those in the past to shorten our lifespans. But the newer technologies that are used out there actually look at the cell, replicate the DNA to its maximum potential that it used to be, that it used to operate in, using the technology of your body. It's all encoded within your cells, and then they eliminate any of the product that may be there, such as a disease, such as a virus, such as a deformity, and they're able to correct that using these techniques.
Even if you looked at conventional technology and extrapolated where it's going to be in 2 or 3 decades' time, you end up with some amazing results. I've got no doubt these technologies exist. I just have no handle on what it actually means that there are people already living on Mars and on the moon. Very strange days.
Absolutely. There's been so much kept from us that has not been released to the public. But there are those who, like you said, Mr. Kramer was authorized to speak of it. And they allow him to do that, and they don't take him out, so to say. But he's quite an individual. I'm not sure if people are familiar with the term 20 and back, but you may want to take a look at that sometime.
I'm taking a written note now. Was it 20 and back?
Correct.
Okie dokes, folks. Scott, do you have any further comment before I roll with why are these technologies suppressed?
No, that's fine. I'm getting ready to leave this office. I have to move to another office about 30, 40 miles away. So I'm going to be in transit here for a little bit, listening. But you go right ahead. And I'm sorry I can't offer any more information about some of the things that I've spoke of. I have to be careful.
Indeed, sir. As do we all, actually.
Thank you, Scope.
Okay.
Very welcome.
I'm dropping the link to 20 and back. Right.
Oh, there you go. CNN can't do that. Woohoo! We win again.
Good one.
It's great how Google and other platforms are now opening up and allowing us to see some of the things that they have been repressing.
Hey, puppy, do you want to zap that to me in a DM and I'll get to it in a minute, maybe?
No worries, mate.
No wuckers. Okay, moving right along. Okay. Why are these technologies suppressed? Exopolitics mentions that there are other testimonies from people who worked on projects related to these ultra-advanced technologies, such as time travel, teleportation, and anti-gravity-driven spacecraft. They come from a variety of people, including military leaders, bankers, media executives, corporate CEOs, judges and lawyers, Hollywood actors, producers, law enforcement, insiders, three-letter agencies, etc., etc. According to testimonies from whistleblowers, it allegedly has to do with an alien directive to disconnect people from the prime creator, which some would call the source. I would call that God. So according to various scientists, Many strands of our genetic code, our DNA, were tampered with and have been totally disconnected from the great cosmic intelligence. This is getting a bit far out there, but the point I wanted to make was that is, without a connection to the source, we can only serve the team, Dark, those dimensional beings who are feeding off the discord of this false matrix. So without Q's awakening, we are essentially a prison planet. And they keep these technologies from us because they are personally empowering, is the upshot of that paragraph. Okay, the next section I will address is called How Could These Suppressed Technologies Transform Our Reality? Corey Good explains that the free energy technologies would end the needs of the current oil petro energy companies. The frequency and light healing technologies would end the current pharmaceutical corporations. The neurological interface technologies would end the need for large education institutions. And the food replication technologies and environmental purification and restoration technologies would end poverty, starvation, and begin to reverse the damage humanity has done to the earth virtually overnight. The real reason is that these technologies have been suppressed. The real reason is that they would immediately collapse the world economy and make the Babylon money magic slave system of no use anymore. It means the loss of control by the 0.01% over the masses, and a complete paradigm change in short. Basically, it means freedom. That's what it means. Having access to technologies like this will free us. Freedom for the first time in humanity, for the first time it is known in recorded history. Just a moment while I scroll down, please. Okay, I'm going to pull out this section. How our world would look if we all felt this way about each other. It would really become what Louis Armstrong sang about a few decades ago in his song A Wonderful World. There is a link to that song, and I would like to play it for you, but I cannot because it is copyright. Anyway, the tail end of this article. The preceding information provides food for thought regarding the reality of UFOs and what they might mean. This information is beneficial to consider because it expands one's thinking via the exploration of mystery. A mind captivated by mystery has the power to make leaps and bounds in soul growth due to the powerful urge to seek the truth, resulting in changes to the substructures of being. Thus, a mystery is arguably the best activator for the individual, quickening the mind and stimulating the soul. This information also helps dispel the false reality pushed by the deep state, which is critically important for the activation of the freedom and justice urges. And that's all I'm going to pull out of that article. I hope I'm building up a decent picture for you guys of the stage we're at and what we can face as a human population. Excuse me while I dig up my next article. Okay, the next article doesn't really quite gel with the rest of them, but it has to be addressed, and I didn't have the time nor the inclination to do a separate explanation of it. But it's about artificial intelligence, and this is artificial intelligence in space. This comes from 2017, and it was written by Tamala Maciel, and it comes from spacecenter.co.uk. Okay, what is artificial intelligence? What do we mean by artificial intelligence anyway? Are our computers and phones intelligent because they can correct spelling mistakes and calculate the solutions to complex mathematical equations? No. These computers are just doing what they were pre-programmed to do at speeds much faster than any human. Artificial intelligence is the ability of a machine to perceive and recognize its environment, learn from previous experiences, and make logical decisions to new questions and scenarios towards some end goal. Being intelligent is like the difference between baking a cake by following a step-by-step recipe and improvising a new dessert based on extensive previous experience with ingredients, baking methods, and preferences of customers. Any computer code can tell a robot how to follow a cake recipe, but an artificial intelligence machine could create a new cake, and it would be tasty too. So think about artificial intelligence as a computer that can conceive of itself. Excuse me a moment. So how could artificial intelligence be used in space? So the remote hostile environment of space is a natural fit for artificial intelligence machines for three key reasons. So the first of three reasons is that space is too vast for rapid communication back to Earth. When we talk to astronauts or computers in orbit around the Earth, the time delay is small, less than a second or so, to 2.6 seconds to travel to the Moon and back, and up to 42 minutes to travel to Mars and back, and more than an hour to Jupiter and so forth. So as our spacecraft and astronauts venture further out into the solar system, it simply isn't possible to relay the commands for every action from Earth. So we need an onboard artificial intelligence to do this for us. Okay, this is point 2 of how artificial intelligence can be used in space. Spacecraft and mission schedules are incredibly complex systems, relying on countless small mechanics and actions in order to achieve some goal. Planning the daily schedule for a remote space mission, such as a rover on Mars, can take a whole team of people hours each day. But with the help of artificial intelligence, humans can tell the computers the big picture goal, such as the travel to that crater, and the rover's computers can plan the detailed series of steps needed to make it happen, including dealing with any minor problems that arise. Back in 1998, NASA successfully tested an artificial intelligence-like software called Remote Agent. Remote Agent had the ability to both plan a schedule and diagnose with faults on the spacecraft. All without human interference. Today, artificial intelligence software developed by the Remote Agent is used by Martian rovers, Opportunity, Curiosity, as well as satellites such as Earth Observing 1 and others. Okay, the third point we need artificial intelligence in space is because space is hostile to human life and in some cases impossible for humans to explore. The moons of Jupiter, in particular Ganymede and Europa, are a compelling place to hunt for signs of life. We believe they harbour vast liquid water oceans beneath their icy crust, and perhaps where there is water, there is microbial alien life. To search for life on these moons, we would have to send a robotic mission in our stead. And with more than an hour's time delay in communications between Earth and Jupiter, that robotic mission would have to be able to search for and even recognize life autonomously without help. And now I come to the tail end of this document. Space exploration is a complex, hostile endeavor that takes place over vast distances from Earth, and artificial intelligence is key to helping humans both on Earth and in space make this exploration feasible. We are a long way off a completely automated artificial intelligence system such as HAL or HAL from that movie 2001. But our satellites around Earth and rovers on Mars already rely on AI-like software to plan their activities and select the most interesting features to study. For a future robotic manned mission beyond low Earth orbit, you can bet that artificial intelligence will be our constant companion. Now, a lot of people are scared of artificial intelligence, and with good reason. But it's just another tool in the astronaut's toolkit, to be sure. I mean, it might be an incredibly powerful and unpredictable tool, but artificial intelligence is a necessity for exploring space. And I'll just jump to the next article. And now we get to the section that Puppy Max is going to love. This one comes out of Gaia, and it's called A Brief History of the Secret Space Program.
Yay!
Shrouded in mystery, the existence of the secret space program is a closely guarded secret. But information from whistleblowers, operatives, and former astronauts have been surfacing for decades. Here are a few of the most notable events. June 24th, 1947, Kenneth Arnold was on a routine search for a missing plane that had gone down near Mount Rainier in Washington state. The weather was calm and clear, and Arnold had just given up his search when he noticed a bright flash in one of the mirrors of his plane. He maneuvered to get a better look and was shocked to see a group of saucer-like objects flying in formation at incredible speed. He landed in Yakima, Washington, and immediately relayed what he had seen. The next day, Arnold was interviewed about the incident, sparking a news sensation that spread across the US. The term flying saucer was born, and the country was soon gripped in a rash of UFO sightings. The military denied any involvement, and speculation grew. Next, we've got the Roswell crash itself. Soon, a report of another kind surfaced, this time coming from Roswell, New Mexico. It was rumored that a mysterious craft had crash-landed in the desert and that the bodies recovered were non-human. The US Air Force stated that the object was a weather balloon, and witnesses offered a different story, claiming materials recovered from the crash site exhibited incredible strength and durability, and that strange creatures had been on board. Now we get to something that piques my interest very much, and this is just a quick discussion of time dilation. The ability to bend space and time also implies the ability or the possibility of time travel. Time dilation was first measured during the Hafele-Keating experiment using atomic clocks installed inside aircraft. During the experiment, it was discovered that the position and speed at which the clocks moved through space affected the time they recorded, correlating with other tests of general relativity. Some claim that the secret space program was able to further bend the laws of physics with the help of alien technology, and that several experiments were dedicated to shattering the notion of time. And that's all this article has to say about time dilation. But it keeps popping up for me, and this will be about the third time I've dug on it, actually. Not that I'm digging. This is just coming across the topic in an article. Next, we talk about the Montauk Project. The Montauk Project was one such rumored experiment, continuing the work of the Philadelphia experiment, a secret Navy operation that used Tesla coils to create an electromagnetic shield around the USS Eldridge. At this point, I'll say that everything that happens in the Philadelphia experiment is basically opinion at this point. Every time I read an account of the Philadelphia experiment, it says something entirely different. The only thing I can surmise is that if any one of the possibilities that I've come across is true, it was an amazing experiment. Anyway, so the Eldridge, allegedly vanished, appeared several hundred miles away, then returned to its original location, much to the detriment of the crew who were severely physically or mentally damaged by the teleportation. The Montauk project utilized this technology, this time conducting mind control tests, psychic enhancement of subjects, and teleportation experiments. Researchers were able to travel through time tunnels, interacting with an alien species and gathering intelligence from Mars. One of the darker aspects of the project involved its use of runaway children and kidnapped boys. Mental and physical torture was used to break down the children, allowing the subjects to be reprogrammed for later use in secret missions. And like I said, every time the Philadelphia experiment pops up, it's a different set of facts, different set of figures, different scenario. Now, this is the tail end of this article. Government documents are declassified. I'll start that again. Government documents are declassified every day. These releases are often cumbersome to sift through, making it challenging for ordinary citizens to find the truth. However, during moments of partial government transparency, often driven by non-profit groups, the responsibility of reviewing government documents falls on the shoulders of the people at large. Good thing we've got Herculean shoulders. And that's the end of that article, guys. Okay, this is the philosophical tail end to the whole exploration of space thing. It's an op-ed from www.space.com. It's from 2015, January 2015, and the byline is Donald Goldsmith. This is the final article that I'll present this evening. So, imagine a time when humans, having spent decades exploring the solar system through landings on Venus and Mars, passages by the largest asteroids, close-up surveys of Jupiter and its giant moons, repeated loops through Saturn's system of rings and satellites, detailed photography of Uranus, Neptune and Pluto, and even landing on a comet. Finally create a coherent plan to travel through interstellar space to reach the nearest stars and their planets. And that's a crucial point. My own comment here is, up until now, I've been addressing only travel within our own solar system. Is there technology now, or can we create technology that will allow us to actually explore a different solar system? And this article makes the claim that this time has almost arrived. NASA's Dawn spacecraft arrives at the asteroid Ceres in March of this year, and the space agency's New Horizons spacecraft flies by Pluto in July. Remember, this was written in 2015. Highly capable spacecraft that not only are secure, high-resolution images of the objects that they encounter, but also roll across planetary surfaces to measure local conditions in a dozen different ways, including spectroscopic and chemical analysis of the composition and history of each subject. So, to many of us, the success of our automated spacecraft heralds the long-awaited moments when humans finally land on Mars, Ganymede is the moon of Jupiter, or Titan, which is Saturn's largest moon, eventually to establish self-sustaining colonies that might provide a continuing opportunity to maintain our existence if our home planet were to become uninhabitable. The interplay between our logical wishes to deepen our knowledge of the solar system, and at our gut level, desires for personal encounters with new situations, always present though not always acknowledged, has governed humans' ever-shifting plans to explore our nearby cosmic environment for half a century. I'm jumping ahead here slightly. As the brilliant physicist Freeman Dyson explains in the new podcast available at Raw Science, and this is the words of Freeman Dyson, instruments have gotten enormously ... Humans are really out of it. If you want to go to space, that's for fun, not for science. This is not understood by the people in charge of planning for future exploration missions. To be sure, when we dream of the far future, we can easily envision, thanks in part to many science fiction stories and films, beings that combine today's human bodies with advanced technology to produce a human-machine hybrid, far more capable of long journeys and survival in strange situations than individuals are today. And Dyson's argument in favour of machines counts for little among those who insist, those who know, that our destiny lies in the presence of humans, not our mechanistic surrogates in space. And this article draws the line between robots and humans, basically. I'll continue with the article. For many of us, this knowledge runs more deeply than any argument can reach. At a glance, at the history of the United States space program reminds us of the many times during the 40-plus years since the last lunar landing that NASA has attempted to produce a reasonable plan to send humans beyond low Earth orbit, only to have the expense of such projects combined with the lack of clear focus for astronaut activity. These lead to the abandonment of the projects. Because the manned lunar program basically served as a counterpunch to the Soviet effort in space, once NASA and the United States achieved their initial goal of landing on the moon, they proved unable of following a coherent plan for future space exploration by humans. So that's what happened to NASA's space mission all those years ago. Okay, I'm jumping ahead slightly. So, consider spacecraft that can carry astronauts through space at speeds approaching the speed of light, conferring two great advantages on the crew. Most obviously, the crew require less time, less than a few years to reach the nearest star, and only a couple of decades to span the distances to the closest 1,000 stars. So that's only a few years to reach the newest stars, and only a couple of decades to span the distance to the closest 1,000 stars. That means if we get faster than light propulsion or light speed propulsion, over 1,000 solar systems become within reach of the human species. And in addition, time slows down, and I'm talking here about traveling at near or faster than the speed of light. In addition, time slows down at near light velocities by a factor of 10. So, for example, for those who travel at 99.5% the speed of light, at that velocity, an astronaut who makes an interstellar journey covering 50 light years in each direction would age by only 10 years, but would return to an Earth where everyone who has aged by 106 years. This is the twin paradox, the time traveler paradox. There's a link to a book here that explains that in detail. So talking about faster than light or near light speed travel, the concept remains theoretically feasible, though one can easily see that the expense would be enormous. As Dyson, and that's Freeman Dyson, recalls in the Raw Science podcast, by the use of nuclear explosions, the Orion spacecraft could provide both fast acceleration and fast travel, which nothing else could do. In principle, the idea was good. The bombs are highly radioactive, and then you had your test ban treaty. Now, if we manage to accelerate a spacecraft to velocities close to the speed of light, which is 10,000 times faster than our fastest space probes, any spacecraft moving at near light velocities encounters a significant problem. The same special relativity rules, the twin paradox again, so the same special relativity rules that allow a traveller to return to Earth much younger than her twin brother who stayed home also imply that collision with space debris, even dust particles, inevitably pose dangers. Oh, we got a question from Storm. Storm says, question from Storm, do you think they could make a Dyson sphere really? In my travails across the internet, I've found of one completely created Dyson sphere that was detectable only by the magnetic wobble that it caused in the planet in its orbit. And I also found a star that had a partial Dyson sphere that blinked on and off as the actual Dyson sphere itself rotated. And for those of you who don't know what a Dyson sphere is, I should probably tell you. Imagine if the Earth was, start with the sun. Okay, we'll start with our star. If our star was a light bulb, imagine if you had a shell, a spherical shell that completely contained the light bulb, and on the interior of this shell, you put solar energy collectors. So a Dyson sphere, is just a shell of what is essentially solar energy panels completely surrounding a Dyson. Not a Dyson, a star. So a Dyson sphere is just a means of harnessing the energy from a star. And as I said, I've come across one that was total. There was no light from the star, but the star was evidenced by its interaction with other planets. And then the second time, I found one that was only half completed. Maybe they only needed half. Maybe it's under construction. Who knows? And Puppy Max just dropped it. A Dyson sphere is a hypothetical megastructure that completely encompasses a star and captures a large percentage of its power output. The concept is a thought experiment that attempts to explain how a spacefaring civilization would meet its energy requirements once those requirements ... As I said, I'm aware of one Dyson sphere that was completely created and then another one which was only partially finished. So whoever asked that question, let me just scroll up real quick. Thank you for the question,
Storm.
Thank you, Storm.
Stormy.
If anyone else has got questions, chuck them at me. Okay, I will continue. So, nevertheless, Dyson's Orion, sorry, where are we? Okay, when the spacecraft, this hypothetical spacecraft, traveling at faster or near the speed of light, encounters dust and pebbles, the objects near light velocities, relative to the craft, enormously elevate the effective masses. An impactor's increase in mass, together with the tremendous collision speeds, call for an enormous amount of shielding to protect anyone inside the spacecraft. Remember that if you're moving at close to the speed of light and you hit a speck of paint at that speed, it'll punch a hole clean straight through the spacecraft, probably with some sort of friction heat event as well. So an increase in the impactor's mass, together with the tremendous collision speeds, call for enormous amounts of shielding to protect anyone inside the spacecraft. Shielding, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, nevertheless, Dyson's Orion concept remains in many ways the gold standard for vision of interstellar travel. In the recent podcast, Dyson noted that the name Orion had been passed on to NASA's most recent spacecraft design, not for an interstellar vehicle, but for a more modest craft to take astronauts to other worlds in the solar system. Dyson also identified the most basic requirements for interstellar spaceflight. Firstly, we need a society capable of long-term planning and execution. If you want to have a program for moving out into the universe, you have to think in centuries, not in decades. So that necessity for a long-term vision poses a serious barrier to interstellar journeys in a society that has great difficulty planning for even the next 5 years. I'm jumping a section here called the wormhole option. It's unnecessarily complicated at this point. Anyway, I'm going to go to the wrap-up on this article. To be frank, concepts of interstellar travel have progressed only modestly since Dyson envisioned the Orion project decades ago. Yes, layers of refinement have been added. Slow versus fast spaceflight has been debated and scored. Experience has now given some indicators of how well humans can survive long periods in space, and theoretical physics has provided some tantalizing possibilities that might make such journeys much easier than they now appear. But the big picture has not changed. First, we must figure out how to live successfully for the long term on Earth, and then we can go to the stars. And that's the end of tonight's information chunk. Thank you, one and all. I need to kick back and recalibrate my nicotine settings. Can we have a song, maybe two, and then we'll figure out how we're going to spend the next 51 or more minutes. Thank you for putting up with me.
Sure.
That was a bit of
Thank you,
indulgence.
Dumpster.
Not a problem.
Is the music playing or not?
No.
It's funny, I can't hear it.
And Goldstar just got out of bed. Good morning, Goldstar Mum. How you doing? And that the preceding material was the basics of humanity and getting into space. So pending other events, I will at one point address suppressed technology in detail and at length, but that was just a primer. And I'll also include a discussion on megatexture, which is what a Dyson sphere is. So mega structures.
Okay. Excuse me. Dumpster.
Yo, puppy.
I have prepared. Well, I still need to work on it. The slides from Dave Wilcox video. The first one I'm gonna address is on Friday because on Wednesday I'll be in hospital today, and that's the plot.
Or are you big crook there?
No, it's just tests and such. So it's not all day, but I'll leave here at 11 in the morning, and I'll probably be home by 4. So I will miss the broadcast then. So I'll have to wait till Friday. And that's it's a 2 presentation part. It's plan 1 and the plan 2. The plan 1 consists of 25 slides, and the plan 2 presentation is 70 slides.
You did an excellent job with the first one, so take as much time as you want. David Wilcox is on point at the moment.
Yeah, he lost some bad credibility by stating in one of his videos that there would be a 3 to 10 day outage of internet and telephone starting between April 3rd and April 10th. Hasn't happened yet, so Jordan Sather was on the RSK. I'm half fan of Jordan Sather. One time I am, one time I'm not. But
either one of them is better than Benjamin Fulford, that's for sure.
I used to be a big fan of Benjamin Fulford, but something has changed. Like 2 years ago, all of a sudden he was gone for a while, and then he returned with his weekly reports, and they were different. The whole concept, the whole text was different, and I immediately got a bad vibe from reading it, and I thought, he's being compromised. Either that or he flipped or whatever, and I lost interest in him. So my first presentation will be Friday. That's the plan 1, 25 slides, and then the plan 2 will be on Monday after that, and that will be 70 slides.
So I've got to wait until Friday to hear the middle part of the story, and then I have to wait until Monday to get the whole story? You make it
yes, sweetie.
Cliffhanger. Keep them wanting more. Go for it.
Yeah, patience is a virtue, and so is a good...
You can't.
Patience is a virtue, and so is a good running...
Blankety blank, this is a family show, puppy.
Yeah, I know. But I didn't use any profanity.
On that note, there are probably dozens of families, more than dozens, probably half our crowd probably has a family around them at the moment. And just letting them know the Dumpster Truffles show is usually a safe space to be for your family. If it's not, you'll get a heads-up warning, that's for sure. Okay, guys, dead air is the enemy. Let's fill it with something, anything at all.
Well, there's also a part 3 after the plan. There's a storm, but those are more like images David Wilcock presented in his video with how 2019 went.
Oh, hang on. You sent me that article about 20 and back, or 20 and something, 20 years or something?
Yeah. 20 and back.
Do you want to introduce that while I dig it up for the folks at home, and I'll read that out now?
Hold on. Yeah.
I got it handy. Just introduce the article.
Oh, I haven't even read it. Okay, 20 and back. It's another whistleblower involved in the secret space program. Let me open it. If it's not a paywall, it's
Okay, I've got it. It's from the Freedom Articles. Paul,
yeah, all right.
good to go?
Good, go ahead.
Are we good to go?
Yeah.
Okay. Where was I? There we go. Okay, this is... It says Monday, April the 13th, but then it says... Oh, hang on, here we go. Published 2 years ago on November 27th, 2017 by Makia Freeman. Can you just give me 15, 20 seconds to get a handle on the document?
Yeah, go ahead. So, it's a really interesting article. It's pretty long, but it has some revealing, eye-opening stuff in it. And
doesn't muck around either, straight to the action. This one is called 20 and back. 20 and back, and this is the document that I'm reading from. In the term 20 and back refers to the 20-year commitment that these military men and women make when they sign up to go into space, or the amount of time they are forced to serve as slaves. Recent whistleblowers to divulge their involvement in the SSP are Tony Rodriguez, who went public in 2016, and Michael Gerloff, who went public this year in 2017. Their testimonies are remarkable and echo the amounts and experiences of many other whistleblowers who have human, also known as Harry Deacon, Andy Basaggio, blah, blah, blah. The name of the article, Puppy was talking about him. Anyway, their accounts vary. Okay, this section is called Time, Travel and Age Regression. One of the alleged hallmarks of the 20 and back program is that it involves highly advanced technology, being time travel and age regression, where the recruit at the end of his or her service is actually brought back in time to the point at which he or she signed up. Plus, they are age regressed to be brought back to their age at that time. This means, in effect, that they gain a whole extra 20 years experience in life, although often those memories are inaccessible and buried deep within their subconscious. In other words, they live that same age range/period in their lives twice over in different places doing different things, and only one of those timelines remains active. This is a lot to take in. Okay, I'm going to skim through this article to pick out the bits and pieces I wanted to get to. Okay, I'm jumping in halfway, and this is talking about a guy called Michael Gerloff. And after the 20 years, the 20 and back, and the age regression and the aging and the time travel and all that stuff, So after his 2 decades passes, he was taken right back to the very moment where he signed up, into the same room, into the same chair with the same captain sitting there. He was very dazed and discombobulated, and he couldn't quite work out what had happened. He went to serve in the regular Marine Corps for some time. He recalls there was something about the Mars-Graham telegram and about conflict with North Korea that may have been intended to trigger his memories. He also recalls some interesting details after his time in the SSP. When he went to serve in the regular Marines, he sustained a calf injury and noticed during boot camp that it began fest toilet at the time, but now in hindsight thinks it was a tracking device. He also recalls volunteering for experiments with a new big pharma drug called Halcyon in a military program. In his interviews, Gerloff displays a strong commitment to the truth. He states that secrecy has made us less as a nation. Was he officially sanctioned to come forward at this time with his disclosure testimony by a USMC intelligence group running the Space Marines? And all of his interviews are linked in this document, it says. Okay, we're getting towards the end of this document now. The big question with these whistleblower testimonies will always be, how credible are they? In Gerloff's case, he has some documentation, but it relates to his time in the regular part of the military, not the space branch. Dr. Michael Salla, a leading expert in the area of exopolitics and a man to whom many new whistleblowers turn, states that he vetted Rodriguez with the help of 2 of Salla's colleagues for over 1 year before publicly interviewing him. In general, I trust Salla's judgment, although it should be noted that another great researcher in the field, Bill Ryan, who is co-founder of Project Camelot and current moderator of Project Avalon. So Bill Ryan vehemently speaks out against the credibility of whistleblower Corey Goode, whom Salla believes and whose information Salla uses. Bill Ryan outlines his grave concerns about Goode's truthfulness in several places, including this interview with dark journalist Daniel Licht. I think that's how it's pronounced. And these are the words of Michael Salla. In my own database of whistleblowers, contactees, leaked documents and breaking news on the secret space program, there's an S in parentheses, so there might be more than one. I have found nothing awry in Goode ET times SG's claims. I'm not sure what that means. Corey Goode, something. His claim of separate space programs is consistent with Randy Kramer's claims that he served with the Earth Defense Force, a multinational alliance, for 17 years on Mars to defend 5 civilian bases belonging to the Mars Colony Corporation. In his alleged 17 years on Mars, Kramer claims he never once ventured into the Mars Colony Corporation facilities, even for rest and recreation. That appeared strange to me when I first heard of it. That degree of formal separation between military and corporate bases on Mars, however, supports Goode's claims of separate space programs. And Goode's claims that he served a 20-year tour of service with the secret space programs before being age regressed back to a time shortly after his duty began. Essentially, this allowed him to live a 20-year time span twice. Also, his memories were white or blank slated, and Goode, now a civilian, was encouraged not to rejoin any military service in case that triggered memory recall of his prior 20-year service. This is consistent with the claims of Michael Relf and Randy Kramer, who say they went through a similar security process.
Whenever the name York journalist Daniel List is mentioned, red flags are popping up everywhere. He's
I just
controlled a
read it.
position.
What's the story
Yeah.
about Lisht?
He is control opposition. He is against everyone who tries to uncover or publish news about stuff that's secret. And he is he's kind of like a CNN journalist. That's how I see him. I watched him a couple of times, saw a couple of his interviews, and the hairs just rose up to the sky.
Speaking of which, there's a section I jumped over, and it talks about a guy called Tony Rodriguez working as a slave on a cargo ship. Do we want to hear this or not? I couldn't find Lisht in the document though.
No, he's only mentioned as having had that interview with what's his name? No, yeah, the Bill Ryan.
Oh, that's right, Bill Ryan. Yes, sir.
Yeah. I'm not all that positive about Bill Ryan either, but that's personal. We all have that, you know.
Okay, so these people, they kidnap them, essentially, give them a job in space, then wipe their mind, regress them to the age that they were when they first signed up, and then use time travel to implant them back into their own lives so that no one would ever know. And there aren't just one of these programs, there are multiple. We've talked about American military, black budget military, I would assume, and corporations. So if there's 2 secret space programs, there could be 3 or 4, who knows? Would you guys like to go for it?
Yeah, there probably are more secret space programs, and one of the things I heard, I think it was from David Alcock, but I'm not quite sure. I have to watch one of his videos again. Is that in our Milky Way galaxy, there are supposed to be 50 million abducted people spread throughout the whole Milky Way galaxy who were put there as slaves.
Do you remember the first Star Wars movie, Puppy?
Yeah.
You remember the scene where they go into the bar and the guy behind the bar says, "We don't serve their kind," and kicks the robots out?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And then you see the pan shot of the crowd, and there's all these different aliens. Do you reckon that's what space is like? Could it be that amazing?
Yeah. There's been said that we have already had contact with 1,500 different types of alien beings.
How many?
1,500. 1,500.
So space is busy and space is crowded, and there are a lot of other civilizations.
Well, yes, what's the use of space then? If we were, that would be a whole waste of space.
Exactly. If life is here, life is there. That much.
Yeah, God created life. God created the universe, and from the universe came, widespread. It's not only. It would be very arrogant to think that we are the only ones.
I don't know which I find scarier: a universe where I'm alone, or a universe that's crowded.
I prefer a universe that's crowded. gives me something to do.
But could you imagine getting the chance to actually travel in space and meet alien beings and go to cantinas and
mate,
out with robots and stuff? That'd be just absolutely unbelievable fun.
Mate, since I found God again, or maybe he found me again, I pray to him every night, and then in bed I talk. No, I don't talk to him. I have a one-way communication from me to him. There's the God, you know me. You know me from birth and before, and you know that as a child, as long as I can remember that I've been looking at the stars and knew that I belong there between the stars. I don't belong here on this planet. I don't feel at home here. I want to be taken away. But please, when you do, can I bring my cats?
You do realize
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna have to take a sketch pad with me when we go into space. That's for sure.
Oh yeah. Every night, especially when the weather is, like half of the planet from all the way from uh, um, southeast to northwest. I have a free view from the whole sky, and I look up at the stars, and and I see things that I think, okay, that's not supposed to be there, and what would that be, and how would it be like there? And if only I could, leave my physical body and travel as an astral body, as energy, and then in a wink of a thought go from here to the moon, to Mars, to Jupiter, to another solar system, to another galaxy, to another universe even.
Oh, hang on a minute. You've crossed one of my red lines. I wouldn't augment my body with cybernetics. That just wouldn't be a possibility. I just wouldn't do that.
No, not cybernetics, just use your own, what's in your body, your own spirit. Use that power to leave your body.
Yeah, the possibilities are absolutely endless.
Because it's at quantum. Thought is going at quantum speed. If you can travel here and you think of a spot in the Orion Nebula, like Betelgeuse, the star Betelgeuse, if you think of that, thought is quantum speed. You are there at that moment. If you could travel with quantum speed, that's how fast it goes. Because everything in the galaxy is connected, because we are all one. We came from one little tiny speck created by God. So we are all connected.
Absolutely.
They found that, plants in nature, they have discovered that plants, trees, bushes, brushes, name it, they can communicate through their root system and nervous system.
Okay.
That's when hence the movie Avatar.
Okay, we're running short on time, dude.
Okay, I'll stop.
No, it's okay. I mean, it's just that we simply don't have the time. The clock is against us at the moment, my friend.
Right.
There's a comment from Chickaboom. And Dumpster Truffles, read this article on martial law and history. Name, martial law would sweep the country into a great legal unknown. TheAtlantic.com. Could someone zap that article to me in a DM, please? Anyone that's handy?
Oz did drop that. It's right above the comment.
Oh, hang on. I can't actually open it from my Discord screen because that's what's being broadcast. Sorry, guys. I'll need a hand here.
I've sent it to you, Dumpster.
Beautiful. Thank you, Oz.
Okie dokie.
Okay, this is a cold look at a fresh document about a timely event. Okay, it's called Martial Law Would Sweep the Country into a Great Legal Unknown. and it's from March 27th of 2020, so reasonably fresh. And it comes from The Atlantic, and the byline is Stephen Dicus and William C. Banks. Give me a moment to get a handle on the morning Gold Star. There's no hassle. There's no rush. Chill out. Enjoy your morning. Okay, this is way too long to address in its entirety, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to top and tail the document. I'll read you the introduction, the conclusion, and then we'll go back and fill in bits and pieces from the body of the text if we have to. Okay, the last time martial law, military control of the government, was declared in the United States was December 1941, just hours after the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor. The territorial governor, acting under the turn of the century statute, handed the government of the Hawaiian Islands over to the commander of U.S. forces there. Closure of courts, shut down schools, freezing wages, suspension of labour contracts, and imposed censorship of newspapers, radios, and civilian mail. He also decreed a curfew and blackout, as well as a ban on the sale of alcoholic beverages, a wildly unpopular measure that was quickly reversed. Despite the fact that there was no threat of a Japanese invasion after the Battle of Midway in 1942, martial law remained in place for another 2 years. So that's the most recent time that you guys have had martial law in America. Okay, and now we're jumping to the conclusion. In the absence of any further clarification from the courts or from Congress or even from the military itself, we cannot rule out the possibility that in an acute domestic crisis like the one we face now, the president or a military commander might, like Lincoln or Jackson, decide to take matters into their own hands. Any court test of these actions would almost certainly be retrospective if it occurred at all. And I assume they're talking about martial law being imposed on continental United States. Even if courts continued operating during military rule, judges have always been reluctant to second-guess the military, especially during wartime. Trump's wartime president rhetoric notwithstanding, invocation of martial law would be utterly unjustified and lawless. The coronavirus threatens the health of many citizens and it may wreck the economy. But civilian government is adapting to the crisis. Okay, this article links the coronavirus with the roundup of the cabal, so to speak. Anyway, but civilian government is adapting to the crisis. Courts remain open and operating with modified procedures, and there has been no hint of insurrection, no widespread law-breaking or domestic unrest. None of the conditions used to justify martial law in the past are present today or are not likely to arise. Not long ago, a top civilian official in the Pentagon declared, "Our goal is not to declare military law and take control. Our goal is to avoid that at all costs." His statement reflects our understanding that martial law would threaten not only civil liberties, but also democracy itself. If you have any questions for me, I'll try and go back and pick apart this document for questions and answers. What do you guys think? Hey, we got a water picker.
Just gonna say, martial law being used on a massive scale would set a legal precedent that would do the exact opposite of what's being pulled off right now. We're going to believe even half of the implications of the Q phenomena.
Oh, dude, are you in the bath again?
No, just woke up.
Could you adjust your output, please? Bump it up another 30%, please. Communication test, water picker, how are you sounding?
Airline mobile, so can't bump it up, unfortunately.
Okie dokes. You gotta
I'm near the tub and not in the tub. Just sort of waking up, like I said.
Excellent, excellent. Good to have you with us.
A power went out at our house. Or more likely to say the flicker 25 times before finally deciding to go out. And just now reset up my power grid.
Okay. So you've just woken up, which means you missed the topic for the evening. What would be your reaction to saying, if you were on a spacecraft to Mars, would you work alongside an artificial intelligence unit or multiple artificial intelligence units? Would they be just another tool to you, or would they be more of a person and not so much a screwdriver?
It would depend on if they can pass the Turing test or not. We've had this conversation in private before. I do think there's a threshold that would be met, but it would depend on if that threshold was met or not.
So that's a qualified yes?
Hey, think about it this way at least. If it's borderline passing the Turing test, at least it could hold a conversation. Probably better than half of humanity. So at least something to talk to.
That's an exceptionally good point. Artificial intelligence will decide for us, I think, is the answer that you just gave us.
Pretty much we're talking about something that's so close to human cognitively that at least you can personify it and at least have a decent conversation. And that part doesn't matter if it's so or not unless that effect really bugs you. Basically, you're talking about something that's so close to the line between machine and a person that it gets very blurry.
Okay, folks. I reckon it's round about time for a song. Let's have something really groovy. Something I can dance to, you freak.
Before we
Okay, we got to give me time because I had the opposite lined up. So hold on a sec. You want freak music? Let me go to my freak file.
Freak style.
Before you guys put the music, I have one question for Dumpster.
Yo.
Go for it.
So, when you were doing your thing about the secret space program, are you saying that it might be that Trump is doing disclosure or prepping for that?
Oh, this is the information we covered this evening, and that is that there are multiple secret space programs, and it looks like, from what we read, that the Trump's Space Force is going to gobble them all up. And it looks like we're going to have disclosure from Trump as well. It all looks very exciting. You should have seen it, mate. You should have been here.
Seeing Solar Warren being a public figure would actually be kind of exciting, actually.
I don't expect Trump to disclose anything about secret space till after the election. Yay! Bam!
Oops, sorry.
Torque it!
Excellent choice, Ozanon. And Water Picker, would you mind making a commitment to pop in on Wednesday and discuss artificial intelligence with me? Because I think it's a salient point at this moment. We're in contact with them whether we like it or not. Or maybe you're getting breakfast. What's on the menu? You went back to bed, didn't you?
No, I was thinking about cereal.
I only just recently found out what Lucky Charms are. It's basically sugar with marshmallows and milk. We're running low on time, but there's always space for a prayer from Scope. Are you standing by, Scope?
Roger, I'm standing by.
Excellent, sir. I'm sure that me and Carmen, two of us at least, would love to hear a prayer.
3, 4, 5, etc.
Yep.
Father God, we come to you today in prayer and asking you for your help, your guidance, and your love and your courage. Lord, we live in times that are so difficult these days. So much is unknown to us, but you have helped us learn so much. And we thank you for all of these victories, large and small. They mean so much in the big plan of it all. We thank you for having us know this, for bringing people to us, teachers and people that we can understand and share time with, that help us learn these things and that bring us news and bring us stories of truth and of salvation. And Lord, we thank you for all of the help that you are giving all of the people who have been stricken by this virus. And we thank you that you have blanketed this world in your grace and your mercy, and that you are helping those folks who are reaching out to you in prayer for their health and for their life. For you are truly the giver of life. And we thank you that you can touch and heal their bodies in ways that we can't as humans. And we know and have faith in you, Lord God, that you're doing this every moment of the day. And we are just so thankful that you consider us so worthy, that you love us so much, that you extend your hands into our world to help us fight this battle and to help us rid this world of this virus. And we thank you for bringing your scientists and your geniuses and your millionaires to the table so that they can find a cure, so that they might be able to relieve the worry and the fear that people are having around the world at this time. We just thank you and praise you for all of your works, and to see your works before our eyes is such a validation of your love and strength and your word, Lord God. For it is your word that we follow. It is your Son that we follow, and it is through him that we come to your kingdom. And Lord God, we hope that you give those people who are alone and who are afraid and unsure and who have no one to talk to, who have no one to be able to discuss such things, that you bring someone into their life, bring someone into their home, into their work, that might be able to work your words, Lord, in a way that excites them, in a manner that they look for you and that they search for you and in your word and your blessings. Lord God, we thank you for Donald J. Trump and his administration and all that he is doing, knowing that it is your plan. And Lord God, we ask that you bless all of the leaders around the country, bring them to the table to be able to talk about the world's problems and to resolve the criminality and resolve the evil that is going on in all of the halls of each and every country that government sets down and decides and rules over your people, the people who have power over us. Make them good, make them gracious, and give them the knowledge of your love so that they may use your guidance in the decisions that they make. Let your presence be known. In these things we ask in your Son's name, Jesus Christ. Amen.
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 Amen. Thank you, Sco.
You do that so effortlessly, mate. I haven't got the tongue for prayer, but you do it beautifully. Thank you very much. Okay, guys. I think a discussion of artificial intelligence needs to be put on the table at some point in the future. Like it or not, I mean, it's got nothing to do with whether you want it or not. It's already among us now, which means that we have to try and quantify it and codify it and figure out strategies for interacting with it, because I hate to say it, guys, because that is exactly what it's doing to us as of now. These are machines that learn, basically.
Simply put, if you're not aware of the concept, when people say machine learning, they're not being hyperbolic. They're being literal.
Yes. It learns faster than us, more accurately than us. It can hold more data than us.
That depends on what it's learning. But a specific task, it does learn a lot faster.
Yeah.
I'd have to agree with him. I'd have to agree with Water Picker.
Okay, sure. Go for it. Tell us why.
Well, what we humans have intuition, AI doesn't have. What we have a soul. We have consciousness. AI doesn't have that. AI is programmed. AI can only learn as it is programmed. It cannot think outside the box like we can.
But oh hell, and what it's programmed to do, it does beautifully after it stops after learning of it for a while.
Yeah, but that's where it ends.
To put it bluntly, by the time that you have an AI, or I guess at that point it would not be classified as an AI that can match a human, there are major philosophical implications that are the scope of what we're talking about right now.
YouTube says you're a little low there, mate. That's to Picker.
Yeah, I can barely hear him.
I'm on mobile right now. My mobile headphone's out of power, and I'm not arsed to try and plug it in and get into an uncomfortable position right now. I really just woke up.
John out in YouTube says we can't possibly understand the power of AI. And you're exactly right, John. It's by definition unknowable. And it's an emergent technology, so maybe if we make a set of laws governing the use of AI. I think that would be a good starting point.
As long as you're not trying to create something like a war mine from the game Destiny, you're probably good. Now that's an AI that's capable of self-reflection.
Yeah, yep. And we're putting AI in charge of things like space travel, the Hadron Collider, managing things like the global money system and so forth. Whether we like it or not, they're here.
I should clarify that in Destiny there are known forces, laws of physics, that really give the middle finger to causality. So, probably a bad example, given the laws of physics probably allow for such an AI. Just gonna make that caveat there.
Ooh.
And
Okay, can we get a sound check, guys? Dumpster Truffles.
Puppy Max.
Puppy, could you give us a sound check, please?
I did that. I just said Puppy Max.
and I can hear him.
How's that chat? YouTube?
We can hear you 5 by 5.
5 by 5.
Yeah, on Puppy Max. Is he as loud as he was, or is he, a bit better on the ears now?
I just raised my volume, so he's good.
Okay, we're getting better. Awesome. Except that I can't hear him now.
Remember to adjust your volume later. I'm just not being arsed to put on my headphones right now. I need to power up. Just give me that warning for later.
Okay, well, I think we're slowly getting there. We're starting to get the volumes better anyway.
Okay, chat, how is it now? Am I better now or too loud still? YouTube chat.
Are they able to hear this? Oh, chat.
5 by 5, Rochelle, thank you. Thank you, laying there. 5 by 5. Yeah, to hear Water Picker a bit better, I had to raise my volume.
Yeah. B.E. Edel says all the mods and orators need to listen to a YouTube replay to see what we've been hearing here on YouTube. Very true, B.E. I've watched a couple of shows, but I'll go back and watch this one and go from there as regards the subject. And there is an article or two that Goldstar Mom wanted to get to. So I'll open up those articles now. And yeah, that'll see us out towards the end, I think.
And for everybody that missed Goldstar Mom's presentation on Saturday, you really missed a good program. Those two ranchers really knew their stuff.
Mr. Bullard?
Is there a recording of it?
I think it was supposed to be recorded, but I haven't found it yet. I looked for it after the show, but I didn't see it yet.
Hey, Goldstar, do you know?
Jump in, Goldstar. Come on. There you go. That needs to be propagated, right? Make sure that gets dropped to 2 or 3 times into YouTube text before we close out the show.
Awesome.
Food security. Food security is security basic. That's all it is. You start with your food and you move up from there. If you don't have if your food supply is compromised, everything else that you do is going to suffer. Our food is crucial.
You guys can't see anything that I'm putting in the text?
I see it.
I've lost the plot. What are we doing?
I've been staring on my phone. I can see it. Dumpster. Goldstar has been putting stuff into the general text this entire time.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
So in answer to the question, you asked if there's a recording, and I'm looking at, I just dropped it, and I'm going, guys, just, am I in the wrong room that nobody sees anything I'm dropping?
Sorry. I'm tired. I just had a brain fart, that's all.
I'm in all these other areas, other rooms, but I have posted it to YouTube, and I will do it several more times, and I will keep it for myself.
You betcha.
It is 2.5 hours, actually 2 hours and 37 minutes, because there is a lot of information. They brought both sides of the story. They brought, first of all, they're both ranchers, so they know firsthand what they're up against and what they're fighting up against. But then Bill Bullard brings more of the American roots to the story about legislation in Congress and what can be done by the people and that type of thing, where Tracy brings in the global perspective of it, how the WWF and the Tysons and the Cargills, and he didn't really go into a lot on the Monsanto side of things, but he does see how it's tied in. I think the two of them really brought it all together. And the other part that I found interesting was Tracy was talking about the banks from the Netherlands, Deutsche Bank. He mentioned the Rothschilds, I believe, and some other key names that all tied into the very same people that we dig on in this Q movement. But this is a whole nother piece that has never really been discussed. And it's very long, but it's very, very full of information.
Did you say that the people in this documentary, Bill Bullard and Tracy something, you said that they bumped into the same things that we as a Q team were researching? Is there a correlation between the data, or do they have similar stories to tell, or how does that work? How do you understand Jeffrey Epstein without Q? That's what I'm trying to explain.
Okay, well, what I'm getting with is the families that are controlling the world and the people that are the puppet masters that are controlling every part of everything in our world that we're seeing right now. The food supply, the gas, the, our jobs, our freedom, everything. Those people that we are fighting against are the very same people that are manipulating our food supply. And so what I found interesting was about Tracy's part of the presentation is he's exposing the Global Roundtable on Sustainable Beef. Anytime you hear the word sustainable, run, because it doesn't mean what it means. It's about destroying our ranchers and making everything under a world government control. And that is what's happening right now. And if you saw the article that came out about Smithland, the pork producers in the United States, I've been trying to tell people the last 2 years, we do not own our pork in our poultry industry. China owns it, and nobody believed me until 2 days ago when the story dropped about the Smithfield pork plant in South Dakota being closed because of coronavirus. And that's when everybody woke up and went, wait a minute, I didn't know that China owned our pork. I've been telling everybody for 2 years.
Wow, I get that. It's the same situation, but looked through with a pair of food goggles on, if that makes any sense.
Well, if there is a time where everybody's sitting back and wondering, where am I going to get my food? And they are learning that going to the store doesn't mean you're going to have food on the shelves. I mean, that is kind of what Bernie Sanders had planned, was bread lines. Well, we're already seeing it happen. So what I'm trying to say is what these two men bring to the table is nothing that the regular city person that has no idea where their food comes from. They do not understand what's going on. And these guys really tell you in detail what is happening behind the scenes. And they talk about the pork, the poultry, the lamb, and sheep industries. But the thing, Dumpster, is tying in the Deutsche Bank and the bank in Netherlands had something to do with when they took over the two main meat sources, the other white meat. I still wonder what they're really saying when they say the other white meat, now that we have learned what they really are as far as being cannibals. I think there's a hidden message in that. But the ranchers, the beef industry, is the only industry that is still owned by the independent rancher, and the government and the world government is trying to take their ranches and take the cattle away.
Goldstar, do you know? Hello, Goldstar. Do you know which bank that was? Which the bank from the Netherlands?
My recall is it was Danske Bank.
Rabo?
Sorry.
Is it Rabo?
Rabo. Oh yes, they
Rabo.
are bad. Bravo.
Exactly. So I mean, when you listen to his segment, if you just skip through and to listen to him first, if you wanted to, but he will talk. He brings in those names of all those companies that we dig on to see who's on the boards, who's on this, who's part of the WHO, who's part of the NWO, all that. He brings in the very same people. It's the same people.
Right, I'll listen to it because the Rabobank here in the Netherlands has together ABN AMRO. Those two are the most criminal banks here in the Netherlands.
You know what the good news out of this is? It is that we've got the picture, the puzzle is beginning to come together, and it's become such that we can actually know where the pieces go because we've already got the background information generated from our digs on these people. The good news is we're actually getting the picture to be visible at the moment. It's actually beginning to take form.
Here, let me show you one where I knew instantly that Tracy was awake. Of course, now I can't find the stinking folder. Give me a second. I know I got it. I'm so tired.
Yep, BE Adels has got it. Control. It's all about control. And this just happens to be the subject of food. So it comes as no surprise that these people are the same ones controlling our food supply as well as everything else.
Oh, I found it. It got hidden. Here we go.
Hey guys, I'm gonna head off. It just popped my head in because I saw you guys were online and I was waking up.
Cheers, mate. Thanks for popping in. Hit me up in a DM in the next 20 hours or so, if that's cool.
Why?
Sorry, please respond.
Why?
I want you on board for a thorough discussion of artificial intelligence. I think Wednesday would be a good day, or we can do it the Wednesday after.
And if you guys ever need a cool down day, we can always go with my actual gem specialty is and just go full on Minecraft sometime. I know it's just important to sometimes you need a relaxation day. Yeah, that's right. We can briefly touch on Minecraft. There actually have been some groups that have actually done AI in Minecraft.
See, that would be a great space to begin explaining the whole thing to people. explain to them that it lives in a digital world called cyberspace, which is effectively a parallel dimension. I mean, ideas like that, people don't really have a full handle on that.
One way of it's one way of describing how an AI can at least keep more perception at some point of complexity. A theory of how it would look like. How it see the world if it was capable of that. So, later.
Cheers, man. Have a good one. Okay, we're getting close to the point at which we have to wrap up. Do you guys want to sign off? And Carmen, at the end of the song, if you would just give your name and the date and a goodbye, please. Is that okay? Oh, hang on. Goldstar's got more to say. Jump in.
I realized Tracy was awake when I was talking to him about, planning ahead for this event that we were doing Saturday. And he was missionary, not Mormon. I asked him that straight up. But he went down to Honduras, went to an orphanage down there. And he said, I do not know what was wrong with that place, but there was something about the children, and I could not put my finger on it. There was something wrong with the kids. And he is awake to the satanic ritual abuse and such.
Can I just pull you up for a minute? Give fair warning to the audience, please.
Sorry, I'm not going into that any further. I'm just saying that when he dropped the image for the World Wildlife Fund that he did, it just showed immediately to me that he was awake. And that picture right there that I'm sharing is what he dropped. Prince Philip wants to give you a hand.
Uh-huh.
So therefore,
Thank you, Goldsnap.
So therefore, Tracy is bringing you more of a global connection and shows you the corporations and the companies that are running the show and thinking about all the people that own those companies that are all the same people that we have been digging on for other things, for other categories. But they're running the show on our food too, and they're trying to kill us all. So I wanted to share a warm, fuzzy, happy Monday moment, and I have 3 pictures to share, and then I'm done.
The chickens.
I want to know more about this stuff, but we'll have to wait till next time.
Hang on, I got to read this for the folks in audio-only land. My warm, fuzzy morning message. Meet Emmy with yellow on her face and Paula, our new chicks. In honor of my friends down under, I chose black Australorp. I have an Australorp hen already that a friend gave to me last summer. She is a beautiful, calm, sweet creature. I tried to see if she would take them and be a mama to them. However, she is apparently not the natural motherly type, and she stepped on and crushed the 3rd chick. So the chickies are in my kitchen under the watchful eye of 3 cats. That's gorgeous. He must have a wonderful house. How is little Guillermo? He'd be almost grown now, wouldn't he?
He's going, what are those? What are those? So this is, my husband says, they have like a big screen TV for the cats. Here we go.
Beautiful.
Sweet.
And so there's Guillermo. You see Guillermo there in the corner?
Yeah.
Oh, the bottom right-hand corner. He blends in with the woodwork. He's a ginger.
So I just wanted to share a warm, fuzzy, happy moment with everybody and tell everybody happy Easter. He has risen, and there's new life. Spring is around the corner. I know that the president he said he had a real big decision to make this weekend, and what that decision is about, of course, we don't know. we can all suspect, but I just wanted to share a happy Monday to everybody and have a blessed morning.
Thank you, you too.
Okay, guys.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, time to wrap up. It's run over time. It's going to take me ages to process the video. Anyway, I love being here with you guys. Good night, YouTube. I will see you again Wednesday. And, yeah, and to the Discord team, you guys are freaking awesome. Unbelievable.
You too. I'm going to sign off too. I'll see you all on Friday.
Dumpster out.
Okay, take it easy. Take it easy. Puppy, look after yourself. Bye to everyone in chat. Thanks so much for being here. Without you, we are nothing. Where we go, on we go all.
Where we go on, we go all. Puppy out.
Have a good morning, everyone. Enjoy your night. Enjoy your day. Wherever you are in the world, just know that you are not doing this alone. We are with you, and we will be with you, and we will win.
There is no other option.
Everybody stay safe, stay alert, and remember what's important. I love you all.
There are times in life when things get overwhelming, and I've gone as far and as long as I can go. And when I need the most, my failing friends astound me. Lord, you're there, you've been comfort to my soul. And I believe in you. Every word that I've heard, and I know it's true. And when I'm walking through the valleys, you will lead me through. 'Cause I believe you're with me, and I will trust in you. I must walk by faith and not by sight, you told me. And there's rewards for those I know that seek your face. But I can use a glimpse right now, Lord, of your glory. And in my darkest hour, you keep me straight. 'Cause I believe in you. Every word that I've heard, and I know it's true. And when I'm walking through the valleys, you will lead me through. 'Cause I believe you're with me, and I will trust in you. I raise my hand, sing hallelujah. For you are worthy of our praise. When the storm comes, Lord, I am running to you. And I will glorify your name. Lord, you've walked my shoes, you filled my pain and suffering. And you took the nails for me while I was lost. And all the trials that I go through, Lord, they are nothing, no. will trust in you. Trust in you. Trust in you. Trust in you. There are times in life when things get overwhelming, and I've gone as far and as long as I can go. And when I need the most, my failing friends astound me. Lord, you're there, you bring comfort to my soul. And I believe in you. Every word that I've heard, and I know it's true. And when I'm walking through the valleys, you will lead me through. 'Cause I believe you're with me, and I will trust in you. I must walk by faith and not by sight, you told me. And there's rewards for those I know that seek your face. But I can use a glimpse right now, Lord, of your glory. And in my darkest hour, you give me strength. 'Cause I believe in you. Every word that I heard, and I know it's true. And when I'm walking through the valleys, you will lead me through. 'Cause I believe you're with me, and I will trust in you. I raise my hand, sing hallelujah. For you are worthy of our praise. When the storm comes, Lord, I am running to you. And I will glorify your name. Lord, you've walked my shoes, you filled my pain and suffering. And you took the nails for me while I was lost. And all the trials that I go through, Lord, they are nothing, no, compared to what you went through on that cross. Raise my hand, sing hallelujah. For you are worthy of our praise. And when the storm comes, Lord, I am running to you. and I will trust in you. Trust in you. Trust in you. Trust in you.
See everybody on Wednesday. Have a great 2 days between now and then. I love you guys.